Hi, I'm Sharon, I'm a school librarian, and the book I'd like you to meet is The Bone Sparrow by Zana Fraillon. If you're looking for a book with a good sense of humour for a light-hearted fling, swipe left now. This isn't the book for you. But if you're looking for a deep and meaningful relationship with a book, one that will make you laugh, cry, gasp, will infuriate you and anger you sometimes, but will ultimately fill you full of hope, you should definitely give this one a try. Despite being labelled as young adult or a teen read, I think this one's got something for everyone. I read it a couple of years ago and haven't stopped pushing it at people ever since. The story is about Subi, who was born in a refugee detention centre and still lives there, and his mum, and Jimmy, who lives in a house on a hill outside the detention centre, and her dad, a guard called Harvey, a duck called Shakespeare, and all the other characters who live between the two places. It starts when Jimmy goes exploring, finds the detention centre and starts to meet some of the characters who live there, but really gets going when Subi and Jimmy realise that they can make a trade. Jimmy has a book, but she can't read. Subi, unusually, can read, but doesn't have any books. And here the characters become intrigued with one another, and this is where their relationship really gets going. Zana Fraillon's got a much better way with words than I have, so I thought I'd read you just a tiny bit from the book to try and convince you that this is the one for you. Harvey says it's important that I draw the stories down for the oldies. He says it's like I'm making them their very own blankets to wrap themselves in and keep themselves warm and safe. Even though I'm using bits of paper with stuff on one side, and it's far too hot in here to need a blanket anyway, I get what he means. It doesn't matter that the scraps of memories just get put on scraps of paper to match. Every little scrap joins up to every other little scrap. Every time they tell a story, those words make the joinings bigger and louder and stronger, so that soon everyone will see and hear the way that the whole world is joined up together by millions of tiny scraps. One day, everything will be covered in one gigantic blanket, big enough to warm everyone. A blanket full of every story there ever was, and loud enough and strong enough for every person to hear. So as you can hear, the book is about how the power of memory and story and the hope of planning a future together can bring us all together. It's about how the tiny kindnesses and not so kind things that we do to and for each other can have a massive impact. And it's about how our community can interact with the outside world. As you can see, the book has won an Amnesty Silip Honour for books that tackle important subjects and aim to deal with them in an accessible and interesting way. And I think that's one of the key strengths of this book. Although it deals with some pretty harrowing circumstances, it does it with quite a light-hearted touch. It doesn't skim over some of the things that go on, but it's ultimately full of happiness and hope. I hope I've convinced you to read this book. Maybe you could borrow it from your local library, and I look forward to hearing what you all think about it.
So the book I'm recommending to you is called The Course of Honour. It's written by Lindsey Davis, who is my namesake, but sadly the book wasn't written by me. The novel is a historical romance. It's set in the 1st century in ancient Rome. And before you think, oh, it's a romance, it's going to be slushy, it's actually fantastic with historical details. So it starts in the reign of Tiberius and is set in a royal palace where a lost centurion literally stumbles over a slave. And from that first encounter, a relationship begins that lasts decades. That lost centurion went on to become Emperor Vespasian, the man who united Rome, and after the difficult and brutal years of Nero's reign, brought peace and stability. So you get to go from Tiberius to Vespasian, tracking the history, with historical details being shown through the life of Kindness, the slave, the young girl with whom Vespasian falls in love. So you see her journey going from slave to freedwoman to property owner, and then, well, I won't tell you the end of the story, and Vespasian's story from a centurion as he goes through the social ranks and develops his career and goes on to become emperor. You see how their relationship and their encounters cross over throughout their lives. But you also get a unique insight into the social and political turmoil of the time, the times when they had to go into hiding from Nero, times when they were able to relax and be together, and times when that socially just wouldn't be possible. So it's a romance, but it's a historical walk. It teaches you a lot about Roman life, Roman history, and Roman culture, as well as dipping into religious life and just some of the social structures of that time. It's well worth a read, especially if you're into history and if you don't mind a little bit of human interest thrown in on the side.